My main gear today is the Fuji X-T4 and the Fuji XF 100 to 400 millimeter lens. This test today that I'm doing is to see just how good the 1.4 teleconverter in combination with the XF 100 to 400 millimeter lens performs. I'm going to be taking photos hopefully with and without the converter just to see how the images compare. I actually owned both of these items for quite some time, especially the 100 to 400. The 1.4 teleconverter I've owned for maybe a year, and I really feel like I haven't used it much at all. So I came out here today with the sole purpose of testing it and seeing how well it performs. Right now my first shot is just of a flower, and I'm using the tripod and I'm using the self-timer, and the aperture is f9 for both photos, with and without the converter. The only thing that changed was the ISO went from I believe it was 250 to 500 for the photo with the teleconverter on. All right, now so for this composition I've actually set the shutter speed to 500th of a second. The aperture is 9.0 and the ISO is at 250. And for this photo I am composing with the two lilies. We'll see how this turns out. I am using the 1.4 teleconverter for this photo. So it's been quite a challenge to do any photography. Sometimes I wonder if the zoo actually puts animals away during the week. Doing the best I can here with the Fuji X-T4 and the 100 to 400 millimeter. I'm exclusively right now shooting with the 1.4 teleconverter attached. The one real big negative is that you have to raise the ISO quite often, quite a bit, to try to keep a decent enough shutter speed, especially when you're up around 900 millimeters. And I am using the tripod to help with some of the movement, but you're still going to need to have a fast shutter speed, and that means a fast or high ISO. Well, it's 86 in sunny South Florida. It's crazy how bad 86 feels. It's got to be humidity, but there's a breeze, so I guess it could be a whole lot worse. Quite the challenge so far. I do think that I just got a couple of decent opportunities. There's an animal that looks a lot like a red fox. It's called a doe, and it got up and it was pacing back and forth for most of the time, but it went towards the back of its area, and it started pacing back and forth again, but every once in a while it would creep up and there would be kind of like a hill. So, you know, it would poke his head up and he'd pose for a moment there, and I think that gave me an opportunity to get some nice portrait shots, and that should be a very good test to see just how well the camera focuses with the 1.4 converter attached. And I also got an opportunity now to get some photos of the chimpanzees, and basically it wasn't moving, and it gave me an opportunity to also get some portrait type photos of the chimpanzee, and that'll be a good challenge because it's very dark. It's a black animal with dark brown eyes, but hopefully the camera performed. For my settings also, I am shooting everything on JPEG, and I am using the Velvia. I like the color saturation, and it gives it a little bit more pop when taking photos of animals and nature. Okay, so right now I'm taking photos of one of my favorite animals to photograph here at the zoo, and it's mainly because of the display that they have. It really does look like it's out in the wild, and it doesn't look like you're in a zoo environment. I especially like it when they're way to the back, because it's kind of hilly in the back, and there's plenty of trees in the background, so you could really make it look like they're out in nature. So this is called the Giant Elan, and again, it's a very big animal with horns, and makes for some really good photos. They've actually moved off of the location that I was photographing, and not in a great one right now, but we'll wait here a few minutes and see if it gets a little better. But I did take some photos already, and mainly shooting a lot of the pictures at 400 millimeters with the 1.4 converter. So I want to see just how good it performs at 400 millimeters with the 1.4 attached, and how well the autofocus performs, and how sharp the picture is. All right, so not the same location I was photographing before, but I might be able to make this look interesting from here. There's definitely some opportunities here for headshots, basically. So another one of my settings, I've left the white balance on average white balance. So I'm hoping the camera performs well. Sometimes it looks a little blue in the shaded areas of my photographs through the viewfinder, but hopefully it'll be fine. Again, I am shooting JPEG, so the opportunity to fix white balance if the auto white balance isn't performing well is going to be a bit of a challenge. All right, so the Giant Elan is moving back to the location I like, and I really think this animal makes for great photographs. You can really make them look like they're not at a zoo, and that's always one of my goals when taking photos at the zoos, to make it look like you're really out in nature. So my autofocus is set to continuous autofocus. Hopefully that's performing well. Nothing is really moving fast right now. There's a shot opportunity right now. Yeah, with it coming right over the hill. Yeah, I think there's gonna be some nice photos here. I can almost always count on the Giant Elan giving me some good photographs. Hopefully the 1.4 with the 400 millimeters performing well. Right now my shutter speed is at 1,000th of a second. I do have image stabilizer turned on. I am at f8 because I'm zoomed out all the way with the 1.4 attached. And my ISO right now is 1250. And basically that's because I'm trying to keep a decent shutter speed, and just took off running a little bit. And those two shots were taken on continuous autofocus with some movement. This is good. This is some autofocus tracking. I would like a faster shutter speed, but it wouldn't be possible. It's an overcast day, and I'm already at 1250 ISO, so my aperture at f8, I'm lucky to get to 1,000 shutter speed. So the Giant Elan is definitely an animal that lives up to its name. It definitely is a giant animal. I think makes for beautiful photographs. One thing about them is I love to shoot them actually from a lower angle. Just makes them look very powerful and big. Makes them look like the strong animal that they appear to be. All right, so one thing that I'm really hopeful is that the software shows me the millimeters that I took the photographs at. I'm hoping that I get all the exposure information, and especially the millimeters on the lens, so that I can kind of get an idea how well it performed at different focus or different focal range. Even though most of it has been done totally maxed out at 400 with the 1.4 converter and the 1.5 multiply action of the Fuji XT4 camera, I'm getting 840 millimeters. And some of it now has been handheld, and I'm hoping that between the image stabilizer and decent enough shutter speed that I'm able to get sharp photos. I am using continuous autofocus on dark animals and with dark eyes, and hopefully the continuous autofocus is performed well. Okay, so I'm taking a couple of photos, nothing too special with this gazelle, but the reason I'm liking it is got some interesting light. I'm going to be able to make it stand out from the background, which is going to go pretty much black. I do have a little bit of a highlight on the bottom of the gazelle, but it's not too disturbing. It doesn't look like it's blowing out. So just a couple of photographs to see how well the autofocus performed with the dark background, contrasty subject with dark black eyes. So we'll see how it performs. 86 degrees here, very humid. The day cleared up, not a lot of cloud cover anymore. I really think the zoo puts animals away during the week, because I don't know if it's just necessarily the heat where you can't find them because they're hiding somewhere, or the zoo puts them away. Anyways, It's been fun doing these photos here today. Not the best opportunities, but hopefully I have enough to compare and take a look. Everything was shot basically all zoomed out, so I'm at 840 millimeters for most of my shots. I did have the image stabilizer turned on the camera and also on the lens, so we'll see how everything turns out.